Today, we're going to jump back to the very beginning of the United States to find the origin story of American politics. And it's not a story about fighting a foreign king. Nope. It's about two brilliant friends who became bitter rivals. And in the process, they basically invented America's first political parties. Yeah, that's a great question, right? I mean, they just won the Revolutionary War. The Constitution is brand new. You would think it's a time for high fives and unity, but instead, the nation's leaders immediately squared off for a brand new battle. This time, a fight for the very soul of the country they had all just created together.
Because, as it turns out, winning a war is one thing, but actually building a nation from scratch, that is a whole different ballgame. And the first major cracks in that new foundation appeared right inside President George Washington's own inner circle.
Now, this is what historians call the first party system. It's that period where these arguments weren't just personal spats anymore. They got organized, they went public, and they became incredibly powerful, really setting the stage for the political world we live in today.
And it all started with two absolute giants. You had Alexander Hamilton, the Secretary of the Treasury, and Thomas Jefferson, the Secretary of State. I mean, just imagine them sitting across from each other at the cabinet table, two of the most brilliant minds in the country, holding two completely different blueprints for what America was supposed to become.
At its heart, their whole disagreement was about what America should be. Was it going to be a nation of humming factories and bustling cities, or was it going to be a quiet republic of independent farmers?
And here are those two opposing worlds, side by side. Hamilton, he imagined a future powered by money, commerce, and industry, all guided by a really strong federal government. To him, that was the only way America could become truly powerful on the world stage. But Jefferson feared that. To him, a nation of crowded cities and factory workers was just a recipe for corruption. He dreamed of an agrarian republic, a nation of self-sufficient farmers, because he believed owning your own land was the real key to being free and virtuous. And their boss, President Washington, he saw all of this happening, and, well, he was deeply worried. He famously warned the country against what he called the danger of parties. He was terrified that this exact kind of bickering could tear the fragile new nation apart before it even had a chance to get on its feet. But despite Washington's warning, that political firestorm was brewing. And the one thing that provided the spark, the issue that turned their philosophical debate into an all-out political war, was Hamilton's proposal for a national bank.
You see, the bank forced this huge, fundamental question right out into the open. What could the new federal government actually, legally, do? Was the Constitution a strict rulebook, or was it more of a flexible guide? That was the real fight here.
Hamilton was the champion of what we call a loose construction of the Constitution. His argument was, look, if the Constitution doesn't specifically say we can't do something, then we have the power to do it. He pointed to the necessary and proper clause, basically saying a bank was necessary to manage the country's money, so the power to create one was implied. It was all about having a flexible, effective government.
Jefferson was completely horrified by this idea. He argued for a strict construction. His view was simple. If the Constitution doesn't spell out a power in black and white, then the government doesn't have that power. End of story. And since the word bank is nowhere in the Constitution, he said creating one was flat out unconstitutional. For him, this was about preventing a powerful central government from running wild. This fight over the bank, that was the final straw. It was like a line drawn in the sand. It forced politicians and regular citizens all across the country to finally pick a side, turning these informal groups around Hamilton and Jefferson into America's very first official political parties. And here's how those battle lines were drawn. On one side, you have Hamilton's Federalists. They wanted loose construction, an industrial economy, that national bank, and they were friendly with Great Britain. Their supporters were mostly merchants and bankers up in the north. And on the other side, Jefferson's Democratic Republicans. They stood for strict construction, an agricultural nation of farmers, state banks instead of a national one, and they sided with France. Their support came from farmers in the South and out on the frontier. So, this is all really fascinating history, but why are we talking about it now? Why does it still matter? Well, because this debate, it never really ended. Seriously, that original clash between Hamilton and Jefferson basically wrote the script for the debate America is still having today. How much power should the federal government have? How should we read the Constitution? What's the right balance between national power and personal freedom?
These were their questions. And you know what? We're still trying to figure out the answers. So that leaves us with one last thought. Just look at the world around you. Our economy, our government, our big cities. Is the America we live in today closer to that industrial and financial powerhouse that Hamilton envisioned? Or is it closer to the agrarian republic of independent citizens that Jefferson dreamed of? Who do you think really won?